Okay, if you're watching this video, obviously you know it's Wednesday. That means it's time for the vlog of randomness, and I have a quite random topic to talk about today. Now, I'll tell you right now, I was thinking about doing something completely different tonight. But I decided, I'm going to go way back in time. We're going to go back to when I was a kid, and I'm going to talk about my history with performing country music. Yeah, I don't like the type, do I? Because we have the bro country now, obviously, still talking about your girl and your truck, and now apparently rapping. I mean, that stuff didn't exist back when I was singing country music. We had real, honest country music back then. Stars, obviously, like Merle Haggard and George Strait, Reba McEntire, and then a little bit later, Garth Brooks. People like Randy Travis, people that really made a name for themselves in country music. True country music. The last true tie to the country and western music that originally it was. Now, obviously going back to the days of like Roy Acuff and even stuff like Gene Autry, just old school country and western music. So we have bro country now. Now I'm going to talk about back in time when we had real country music. And I'm going to talk about when I used to perform country music. So I got a lot of things I want to talk about today. We're going to tell a few stories, and I'm going to let you guys into a closet that I've had shut for quite a while. Now granted, I've put myself over with this before, and I think I have every right to do so. Once you see what I'm about to show you, you'll probably understand why. But this is a part of my life that a lot of you don't know about. I have not talked about it, maybe like a little tidbit here and there in the past, but by and large, I really haven't talked about this part of my life. I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. When I used to be a 5-year-old country singer. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to go back to the basics, back in time, way before Suro and Disney. We're going to talk about my childhood. But before I get started, obviously, since it is Wednesday, I do have to gloat a little bit and say, 2 weeks from today, I will be back in Orlando. And how sweet it is. Cannot wait. So, that is my present, and certainly my future. But I want to go back in the past now. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about my former career as a country music sensation in this area. Now, granted, that's grandstanding a little bit, saying I was a sensation or everything. I wasn't going to be, most likely wasn't going to make it as a country music recording artist, but I had a nice little career in this nice little area, and people somewhat knew of me. So, way before I was Suro in the independence of professional wrestling, or now before I'm Suro and Disney when it comes to YouTube, well, you guys know me this way. I was a country music singer. Let's talk about that, shall we? So, I'm going to show you a picture real quick. Aren't I cute? Yeah, I know. Seriously, what happened, honestly? But this right here is a DVD. Yes, this is a DVD that my mother actually made for a Christmas present for my family one year. And this is called Forever and Ever. Why? Because back in the day, when I used to perform, my closer, my signature song, was Randy Travis's Forever and Ever, Amen, which to this day, I still know the words to, which is crazy because a lot of the songs I performed on this actual DVD, I probably have long forgotten, but I still remember my signature song that I was so tired of singing. Now, I totally understand how Barry Manilow must have felt when they say, you know what, you want to sing Copacabana tonight? He's like, no, I want to sing something else. Like, no, you sing Copacabana and you get paid for it. And he's like, all right, whatever. So, he knew where his bread was buttered, folks, and so did I. Forever and Ever, Amen was the go-to, and it had to be the finish every single night and every single performance. Regardless if I'm performing at a nursing home, or whether I was performing at a private party, or whether I was just performing for fun. My studio, if you will, was actually in my grandmother's basement. And I had a microphone, had a stand, I would go in there and I would record music. Now, I actually had some dubbed tracks that were made by Don Creel. I believe it's Don, I think it's Don. But Creel Electronics actually made dubs of my music. So, took out the vocals and then I provided my own voice, obviously. So yeah, this was something I really invested a lot of time in. And throughout the years, I invested a lot of money in. But we'll talk about that as we progress. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back in the Wayback Machine. And Mr. Peabody and Sherman, where are we today? We are in 1987. The year that some major things happened. But for me, personally, it was the year that I decided, on a whim, to enter the Belpre Homecoming Talent Show. So, this was an all-ages talent show. And I was performing against different age people. If I remember correctly, now I may get some of this incorrect, and I'm sorry if I do. For those of you out there who legitimately know me from this area or around this area, and you know these pertinent facts, you can tweet me or send me a message so I can say, hey, Owen, I kind of remember it differently. Well, I'm trying to remember as best as I can. This is a long time ago. This was when I was 5 and 6 years old. So we're going back in the Wayback Machine, all right? So I decided I wanted to enter a talent competition. And it was a talent competition that, strangely enough, it wasn't officially, but it basically was in my grandma's backyard. What I'm trying to say is there was her backyard, and there's a hill, and then there's this little area that was called Civitan Park. And on a white stage with American flag banners in the background is where I performed my first talent show. So I think I was 26 in that competition. I'm not positive on that, but I think I was. And actually, before I performed, and I decided I wanted to perform, I actually was given a present. I was actually bought my first plaid. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Now, I'd never wear that, but back then it sold. So, yeah, I had a plaid shirt that was bought by someone who has actually been very influential in my life over the years. My grandmother lived next door for all my entire life to a wonderful lady by the name of Jean Dent. And she actually bought me this shirt to perform in. And that's the shirt I performed in the night that I won my first talent competition. So yes, I definitely want to shout her out. And unfortunately, I will have to state that she did pass away last weekend. And I do definitely want to mention the fact that she was very influential, listening to her talk to Grandma, sitting on the back porch, or maybe rocking in the swing set. Always hearing about Jean's gossip. It was always fun, and I very much appreciate everything that Jean ever did for me, and may she rest in peace. I thought I needed to make that very well known that she is the one who bought the shirt that was my first talent show victory. So I wanted to throw that in there. So yeah, I performed, and this DVD right here, actually, you probably can't read it. I'll bring you close, don't worry. Now, this is funny. I did obviously most people nowadays, they start at kindergarten. Back in my day, we had something called preschool. Yeah, I know not everybody went to preschool, but I did. And I actually performed the theme song to Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I even finished it with Hi Neighbor, and it got a pop from the crowd, and that was awesome. But yeah, I learned early on that I really love the spotlight. And as you can see, since I'm on YouTube now, I still do. So yeah, obviously, like I mentioned, Forever and Ever Amen was my go-to song. And then I developed a fan following with some talent from Shaker Heights, Ohio, Daryl and Dawn, then Gatlin, now Ellis. And I actually would go see them pretty much wherever they were. Obviously, they weren't local, but they came down and they did a lot of the local festivals around me. And I would go visit them, became friends with the band, and I eventually got to perform with them. And eventually, I was asked to open for them. And I remember opening for them at my alma mater, Parkersburg South High School. And it was funny because I was singing Mel McDaniel's Baby Got Her Blue Jeans On. And I remember all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the lights completely going out. Total pitch black darkness. And legitimately nothing. I could see absolutely nothing. But I went on and I kept going and I kept going. And I thought about it maybe in my head to pause, but I knew that wasn't the right thing to do, so I didn't. I kept going, and obviously the show must go on. And as a kid, obviously, I was super scared of the dark, but I still did it anyway, and it was awesome. And later on in the show, they actually pulled me up on stage. they gave me a tambourine, and they had me perform with them. And the song that they picked to perform with them was John Denver's Take Me Home Country Roads. Yeah, a song that I obviously do not know, given the fact that I grew up in Ohio, not West Virginia. So, because of that fact, I was kind of like, yeah, let's slap this tambourine, yeah, woohoo! So, it was fun though, I had a good time. And I will show you a picture of them from back in the day. I'm also going to let you in on something as well. This is my ginormous book of autographs. So, let's show you this right now. Back in the day, this is what Daryl and Don Gatlin at the time looked like. But don't forget, there were another group, a very famous group, still famous to this day, called Larry Gatlin and the Gatlin Brothers. So, obviously, eventually down the line, they had to change their name to the Ellis Brothers, and now, one's still in the business, the other one has gotten out long, long ago, so yeah. As I guess it's a piece of history. So, as I continue to look at this book, which I haven't actually looked at in many, many years, I'm going to show you some other things as well. So, this right here, this black and white picture, this is my favorite country group of all time. That, of course, is Sawyer Brown. Yeah, even before they performed with Jeff Jarrett at In Your House for the WWF back then, yeah, I still like Sawyer Brown. So yeah, kind of ironic that I ended up getting into wrestling after the fact. So, I performed with Sawyer Brown. I'm proud of that. I'm not going to lie about that. I did. I actually became very close to the disc jockeys on a local radio station called WNUS. And I actually at one point ended up skipping the beginning of school to be able to meet them at the radio station. They were actually being held there for like a pre-tape, and they were putting over the concert from that night. Well, I actually got to meet the band that night, and lo and behold, that night I actually got brought up on stage and I performed Outgoing Cattin', wearing Bobby Randall's black leather jacket, which of course was way too big for me because I was way young back then. But it was super awesome and super cool. And there was a country music showplace that I'm going to talk about later on in depth in Salem, Ohio called Ponderosa Park. And we had seen Sawyer Brown perform that one night, and Mark Miller, the lead singer, was wearing these wacky shorts. So we took a picture of these shorts, and we made some sort of a birthday cake gimmick, and we put this all on poster board, and this was to win like backstage access to the show. So that was kind of cool. And I would see Sawyer Brown many times throughout the years. The big one, of course, has to be the time that I got to perform with Reba McEntire. Yeah, I performed with Reba McEntire at that same Ponderosa Park that I was referring to earlier. So let me explain the story. Now, obviously, you look at me, you don't think, hey, he probably sings a lot of Reba McEntire. Probably not. But you'll see that if I look on this, there has to be at least one on here. Yeah, the song that I actually performed with Reba is actually on this. So, yeah, I thought that was really interesting. Weirdly enough, Outgoing Cattin' is not on this DVD, which is weird. We'll talk about that in a minute, though. I'll get to the DVD in a moment. But I want to mention right off the top, talking about Reba. So, I had become a huge, huge mark for Reba. Straight up. I knew all her music, I would sing her songs, and I would start using her songs in my show that I would use to perform in local areas. Obviously doing like different private parties and nursing homes. I performed in a lot of nursing homes back then. So, yeah, I knew the Ohio branch manager of her fan club. Apparently, with her fan club, there was a different manager of the different branches. Each state had a different person in charge of the fan club. The person in charge of the branch of the fan club was actually my friend Becky McKinney. And Becky McKinney actually introduced me to her now husband, Narvel Blackstock, and was basically putting me over saying, you know, he sings, and Narvel's like, yeah, does he sing any Reba songs? And of course, put that over, and then later on in the show, later on in that afternoon, I think nothing of it, I watch an awesome Reba performance, and then all of a sudden, I hear the chords, the opening guitar riff of Little Rock, which for some reason, was a song I really enjoyed. I still like Reba's music to this day. Obviously, it's because it is my go-to when it comes to country. So what happened was, Reba goes something to the extent of, I'm going to bring someone up on stage with me, and we're going to sing this song. So I was thinking, this is awesome. Whoever is getting brought up on stage is going to have a huge mark-out moment. Now, granted, I'm not using the term mark-out moment when I'm 6 years old or 7 years old, but still, yeah, it's something I'm thinking now, going back to it. And lo and behold, I had to listen to make sure I heard this correctly. I was brought up on stage by name, and I performed with Reba McEntire in front of a lot of people in Salem, Ohio at Ponderosa Park. And I will show you that in a minute. Actually, I'll show you that right now. As I look through my catalog of pictures here. I have this huge catalog of pictures. My autograph book is ginormous. I'll show you the actual extent of it in a minute. But I wanted to point out the Reba pictures. So we had pictures taken of that show, and they were blown up, sent to Reba specifically, and they were actually... I'll show you the picture right here. This right here is the picture from that day. There's that. And Mel McDaniel, how appropriate right there on the other side. So yeah, I met him too. He was awesome. So yeah, I'll show you the pictures here as I look through here. Yeah. See, okay. Now, nowadays, this stuff can be photoshopped. If you want to sing with Katy Perry, you can make it happen. Digitally wise, you can put yourself in a picture singing with Katy Perry. And you can mark out all your friends like, I was on vacation and I sang Firework with Katy Perry. Why is there no evidence of it? I have a picture. And of course, it's something that you probably put together. This is a shoot, folks. This is me, when I was a kid, on stage with Reba McEntire performing. Look at that. Isn't that awesome? Totally awesome. And after the show was over, and I actually got to sign autographs for the fans that were in attendance, they were like wanting to get my autograph. That was really cool. When I was a little kid, that was really totally awesome. This is the picture of Reba and I backstage. Sorry about the glare. Backstage after the show. I actually got a plant for her and I gave it to her. So yeah, that was kind of cool. But yeah, I wanted to put that over. So let's talk about the autograph book, shall we? Got a lot of big names in here. Got some people that are not necessarily big names now, but were kind of big names back then. And were kind of big names in the local area. This right here is the book. This is how thick the book is. So let's show you the book, shall we? As I give you a little history lesson. This is Steve Wariner. You would know him by a song called Linda, which was another big part of my concerts. And yeah, of course, is on this DVD. This is Mo Bandy. He sang a song called Americana. And somebody that I enjoyed back in the day. Actually, I believe I saw him at Parkersburg High School, if I remember correctly. That's Stella Parton. And Randy Travis. Now, this is interesting because he's had a lot of personal troubles lately. But back in the day, Randy Travis was awesome. And I would sing Forever and Ever Amen. Everyone knows that. I said this at the beginning of the video. And I would sing some other stuff like his, like This Ain't Over and Digging Up Bones, like old school songs. Well, I remember seeing him, and before I saw him, I actually won a demo tape. Like, I could actually record a demo tape. And I did. I recorded a demo tape, and somehow, some way, I tried to get it to Randy Travis. Now, I don't know if it ever got to him, but I do know that I went through the right avenues in order to get it to him. But who knows to this day if he heard it or not. So where we got on this list here? This is the band Stagecoach. I don't know if you ever heard of them. Probably not. The Bellamy Brothers. It's all coming back to me, folks. It just really is. Mr. God Bless the USA himself, Lee Greenwood. God Bless the USA, of course, another song that I use a lot. This is KT Oslin. the song called Do Ya, which is actually the closer on the DVD, which is really strange given I thought that Forever and Ever Amen would be the closer on the DVD. It's not. So, we have Alabama. Alabama we got to see at the West Virginia Motor Speedway. And this is Connie Smith. So if you remember any of these people, kudos. I remember most of them. This is Ricky Van Shelton. Ricky Van Shelton was awesome. And this is the band Highway 101. So hopefully you guys can see this a little bit better. Old-time country star Gene Watson. And I see Doyle Hawley. These are like... Some of these people you may or may not have heard of. Some of these people your parents may have heard of. Some of these people your parents may never have heard of. But still, kind of cool. Ronnie Prophet. And, okay, now, just like most of everyone, I was a big mark for the Dukes of Hazzard. And I never got to see John Schneider. Never. Never did. He never came anywhere close because obviously he was doing the acting thing and didn't really do much when it came to vocalization. But one time, I actually got to go to a local fair and I saw Tom Wopat. So yes, I have an autograph of someone that was in Django Unchained. So there you go. Thought that was pretty cool. Luke Duke himself. This is Billy Joe Royal. And apparently that's Tim Stacy. Right here. I'll show you that. Jam up guy right there. And Mel McDaniel. I got to see. I want to tell you, this is a band called Phoenix. Actually, local band here. Notice the singer kind of looks a little bit like the late, great Brian Pillman. Here's Restless Heart. See, back in the day, a lot of the country acts used to come through this area and actually perform at real concerts at small venues. I mean super small venues. We're talking like fairs and festivals. As a matter of fact, I know of a concert just like that, and we'll get to that as soon as I get to it in the book. So, I mentioned a while back about being a big mark for Sawyer Brown. I got to perform with them on stage. It was super cool. Well, there was a concert, and I believe it was in Charleston. I'm pretty sure it was, which is state capital. And I went there to go see Sawyer Brown perform. The caveat was they were opening for Hank Williams Jr., who came out, did like 3 songs, was bombed out of his mind, and just literally bombed off the stage. Kind of got booed a little bit for that, and rightfully so. I went to go see Sawyer Brown perform, and it was awesome. It always is. What else we got here? Let's look in the book here. More Phoenix. This is a band out of Charleston called Cross Country. Notice this guy right here looks a lot like Jim Cornette. So, what else we got here? This is Rex Allen Jr. And right here, we have Louise Mandrell, who puts on a great show, actually. I never got to see Barbara perform, but I got to see Louise perform, and I really enjoyed her. Helen Cornelius and Earl Thomas Conley. And in Portsmouth, Ohio, they would always have an Earl Thomas Conley homecoming. And that was every year they had like a country festival. Kind of like how Wheeling has Jamboree in the Hills. This was, for Portsmouth, what that was. It was basically a country concert series that was every single summer. And there were some names that actually became a lot bigger that performed at this show. And I have a lot of them in this book. Now, let's show you this. Sawyer Brown and Billy Crash Craddock. I'll show you. Sorry, there you go. There's Crash right there. And I believe this is, for some reason, a very shirtless picture of Roddy McDowall. Wish I could say Roddy McDowall. That'd be awesome, given being Batman Mark. And it's a band called Shenandoah. So there, I can show you that. Now, I met Chubby Checker at our mall. This was funny. He said, "Keep your nose clean and you will be the president." Okay, That's awesome. 1989, met Chubby Checker. Here's an awesome one here, too. Speaking of the Earl Thomas Conley Homecoming, it's the first time I met Garth Brooks. And Garth Brooks is awesome. And he actually wrote on here that, you can't really see it, but it says, "You owe me a song." Okay. Now, obviously, doing this, you know I'm not exactly as shy as I used to be, because I pretty much open up to you guys every single week, every single day. So, back then, I was very shy. And Garth Brooks knew that I performed because I told him, and he asked me to sing for him, and I wouldn't do it, because I was shy. Down the road, Vince Gill actually performed at the Smoot Theater, and I was actually given an offer to play Nintendo on his tour bus with his daughter, and I didn't take him up on it. Now, looking back now, I probably should have. Who knows? Now, this Garth Brooks show, during the Earl Thomas Conley Homecoming, was, I gotta make sure I get this right here, another band called Asleep at the Wheel. There you go. Asleep at the Wheel. I hope that you can see very well. I know the glare, I'm sorry if it's bad. We have Charlie McLean and Wayne Massey. Some old school names here. There's that. There's that. Trying to get as close as I can. These more Daryl and Dawn. Okay. There was a band a long time ago. They're on Epic Records, according to this. And they were called The Shooters. And they had a song called Tell It to Your Teddy Bear. And I performed this a lot. Well, I actually met the band, and I got legitimate permission to perform the song. So that was pretty awesome, because back in those days, who would be giving a kid permission to perform their songs? That was pretty cool, the Shooters, to actually do that. So that was really a nice little gesture from them. For the life of me, I can't tell who that guy is. It's fun to do this, actually, because I could not tell you who some of these people are to this day. I saw Ricky Skaggs at a concert. So there's Ricky Skaggs. Looking a lot like my friend Kevin Close right there, actually. Yeah, I can't tell you who that guy is, so we're not going to show you him. This is funny. The Vince Gill autograph, it says, "From one singer to another, of which for a while I am the taller for now. See you on the Opry." Interesting that said, because many years later, I finally took a trip to Nashville, and I got some cowboy boots, which was awesome, because back in the day, I really wanted a pair of snakeskin cowboy boots, and I got them, and they were awesome. And I also went to, back in the day, there was this little thing called the Nashville Network, and it was filmed, everything was filmed around the Grand Ole Opry and the then theme park Opryland USA. There was a nice little production area, and they would film their live shows. Like, one of them was Nashville Now, with the host was Ralph Emery, and I actually got to see Marty Stewart there. That was right when Hillbilly Rock hit. And Williams and Ree, who were co-hosting with Florence Henderson to the show Country Kitchen, I went to the Country Kitchen taping that previous day, and I really wish I still had this, because it was totally awesome. They gave me a roll of paper towels that had Florence Henderson's autograph on them, which was totally awesome. And it was funny because when they were warming up, I actually was singing for the studio audience. Obviously, it was not like on the tape or anything, but I was singing for the studio audience. And if I remember correctly, at one point, Florence Henderson actually like peeked her head out and everything. So I can honestly say, as long as I can remember this correctly, that Florence Henderson has heard me sing. So that's pretty over that Mrs. Brady has heard Sir Owen Disney sing. That is pretty awesome. So yeah. That was interesting, and obviously I got to go to a show called Crook and Chase. It was Lorianne Crook and the late Charlie Chase, and I got to see Jim Varney. Jim Varney was actually there promoting, I believe it was Ernest Goes to Jail, if I remember correctly. I think so. That was pretty cool because I was a big Ernest mark, so yeah. That was really nice to, back in the day, what would happen. So, I saw Susie Bogus, and I was in attendance for the Statler Brothers. I believe that was also a PHS. See, a lot of country artists performed at one of the local high schools in this area because it was a great place to perform. So, yeah, there's always that. And that concert where Hank Williams Jr. was 3 Sheets to the Wind, there he is right there, and there's Crook and Chase's promo pic that I got. Now, I also got to meet, I didn't get to meet personally, but there was a puppet that was on Nashville Now named Shotgun Red, and I was a big mark for him for some reason. Don't know why, just was. Guess he's a Disney fan in me, possibly. And this is a picture of Shotgun Red that, of course, was not autographed by him, but it was pre-autographed. It was still pretty awesome, and it says, not thanks, but tanks. So that's Shotgun Red right there. That man is getting closer and closer. He will haunt you in your dreams. Now, autograph pictures. Real quick, before I go back into my country singing life, I want to mention my good friends, unfortunately the late, but a great, great gentleman in Don McPherson and his wife Pat. And they were the proprietors of Sweet Fanny Adams Theater and Music Hall located in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Something I've done many, many, many times throughout the years. And this is actually one of their cast photos. So yeah, I'll show you that. I thought that was kind of cool. I'm trying to get it without the glare. There we go, that looks nice. So yes, I thought that was kind of cool. The guy on the top, unfortunately, he is no longer with us. That is, his gimmick is Lucifer McRotten here. It was from the Adventures of Mary Bright, I believe is what it was. So, and right here, this is Don, and this is Pat. That's Tim Coleman. I think that's Tim Coleman. Yeah. Oh, let's just read it, shall we? Yeah, Tim Coleman right here, and that's Pat, and that's Janice, and that's Michael, and that's Don. So yeah, that's Sweet Fanny Adams. Maybe that'll solve our glare problem, shall we? So yeah, if you get a chance, you're ever in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, check them out, Sweet Fanny Adams Theater. I don't know what their address is anymore, but I'm telling you, if you want a great night of entertainment, go check them out. They're awesome. More country singers I met over the years. This is Ronnie Smith, and this is Nancy Wiles. Yeah. More people. A lot of these people I just met at Ponderosa Park, honestly. So, okay. I got a story for you guys. So, this right here is one of the greatest men that ever lived, and that is Porter Wagoner. Now, Porter Wagoner was a performer on the Grand Ole Opry. He would wear very gaudy jackets, and when he'd open his jacket, it'd have the word "Hi." So, I marked out for that. It was totally cool. Saw him on the Opry, and that was great. Now, in Wheeling, back in the day, they used to have a connection to a radio station, and every, I believe, Saturday night, they would do something called Jamboree USA. Now, granted, this doesn't happen anymore, and this was at the Capitol Music Hall. And this was back when they would do concerts on the regular. Porter Wagoner performed. I met Porter Wagoner, and it was totally awesome. I actually got a vinyl signed by him. That was kind of cool. Here's Eddie Raven. Now, that jam-up guy right there. I like the bolo tie. Rock that. And I got to see the Snowman. Didn't get to meet the Snowman, got to see the Snowman. And that is Jerry Reed. So yeah, Jerry Reed is awesome. Big Smokey and the Bandit mark. The Pirates of the Mississippi. If I remember correctly, I actually saw them at Camden Park. I think that was one of the... They used to have country music on the weekends at Camden Park, which was the theme park. I guess you call it... It's not a theme park, no. It's an amusement park, and it's in Huntington. So yeah, I got to see them there. I was a big fan of the song Bop. And obviously, Dan Seals, which I actually got to see perform live. And yeah, the same Seals from Seals and Croft. You obviously know about them. And back in my day, I should be talking to like Wilbur Atkinson right now. There was I can't really say local because this was in Charleston. That's not local. I guess it's kind of local, but not quite. there was a show that was done every Saturday morning called Mr. Cartoon. And I got to be on Mr. Cartoon. It was totally awesome. And this is Mr. Cartoon. So yeah, I wanted to show you that real quick picture of Mr. Cartoon as I continue looking through this book, which I haven't looked at in a long time. Now, like I said, a lot of the country stars in this area would perform at different festivals. Here we have Patty Loveless and Holly Dunn. So yes, show you more of those here. I'm trying to remember some of these stories. There was an awesome song. It was basically a one-hit wonder. A song called I Watched It All on the Radio. And it was done by a performer named Lionel Cartwright. And I actually got to meet him. So, here's Lionel Cartwright. And here's another picture of Steve Wariner, which the reason why it's so dilapidated looking is because it was dropped in mud. And it kind of caked. So yeah, that's what happened. I believe that was another show that I saw at Camden Park, if I remember correctly. More pictures of Sawyer Brown. There was a all-female country group called Wild Rose. Trying to get that glare off of there. I know what you're seeing right now. You're probably seeing the ocean. The band Exile. And here's Davis Daniel. This is legit to my mom. So yeah, that's it. See, this is Davis Daniel. This is to my mom. So yeah, there's always that. We continue with, you remember that picture I told you about Mark Miller wearing those wacky shorts that got me into backstage? This is it. That's Mark Miller in his wacky shorts. And here's Billy Dean. This was pretty much the time I was getting out of country music. So, yeah, I think that's about it. I have one more thing I want to show you. Something I got... Excuse me. This actually is my last one I wanted to show you. And this is... Okay. So, my mall that I work in right now, obviously, had the original Batmobile there. And I could take pictures with it. It was awesome. Totally awesome. Big Batman mark. Everyone knows that. They had pictures there, and obviously these aren't, like, legitimate autographs, but this is still pretty cool. Look at that. That is super, super awesome. You can barely see it because of the glare, but still. Doesn't that look cool? Yeah, nice. So yeah. That's pretty much my history. Let's start with this DVD, shall we, while we're here. As we look at this DVD, see where we are here. John Anderson Swingin', a song that was in my lineup from time to time. I did All I Want for Christmas, and I did that for a school event, actually. And I also would do some religious songs every once in a while. I ended up on Dear Mr. Jesus and One Day at a Time. And it's really funny because that transitioned to this DVD to a Ricky Van Shelton song called Crime of Passion. And then I go into Elvira, which was one of my signature songs. It's funny because I have like the high falsetto, and I did a lot of tenor stuff when I was in choir. But for some reason, the Papa Mau Mau that Richard Sturban used to sing, I could hit that every once in a while. I got some more stuff on here. Kathy Mattea's 18 Wheels and a Dozen Roses. And Hey Baby was actually on there. I actually performed that for a... it was weird. I was kind of the master of ceremonies, basically, at the Little Miss Belpre pageant. So that was kind of cool. And the Vince Gill song in question I was talking about, Cinderella, is actually a really good song. Let's Get Started from the Oak Ridge Boys. God Bless the USA from Lee Greenwood. The Race Is On from Sawyer Brown, which is funny because my grandmother reminded me of this because I was just chatting with her on the phone. And I didn't remember this anecdote, so I wanted to bring it to your guys' attention. Obviously, The Race Is On is an original song by one of the greatest superstars in country music history, and that's George Jones. And The Race Is On was covered by Sawyer Brown, and I remember saying, after Grandma reminded me, that apparently during the shows I would do, like the private shows I would do for local areas, I would cut promos in between each song. And I would say, well, this next song is blah, 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 blah. Well, apparently I said, I'm going to sing The Race Is On. This is the Sawyer Brown version, not the George Jones one. So I was like, yeah. I thought that was kind of funny little anecdote to talk about. Tell It to Your Teddy Bear. Calling Baton Rouge, which is interesting, because obviously we know Garth Brooks has done a version of the song now. But there wasn't the version I performed, because obviously that was way after the fact. I stopped doing country music. Little Rock from Reba, the song that I performed with her on stage. Linda from Steve Wariner. Obviously, the normal Take It Home Forever and Ever, Amen. And I guess that Do Ya by KT Osmond would have been my, not my closer, but my encore via this DVD. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I start out with Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, I end with KT Osmond. So yeah, that's what we have here. So this is a lot of stuff. Notice this picture right here. This is an article that a local paper did on me back in the day. A lot of false information here. Honestly, not many great fact checkers back in those days. So yeah, another thing I used to do all the time, I did a lot of private parties. I did one private party at some sort of a company function, and it was a Christmas party, and I remember that I would get paid for these things. Obviously, this stuff would get put in an account that I wouldn't see until many, many, many years down the line. But I was given, like, grocery vouchers for my family, and that's partial how I got paid. I think if I remember correctly, I made like $200 for that private party, if I remember correctly. And that was fun. I always used to love singing and love performing for people. And we go back to the beginning of this video, and I talked about performing in talent shows. Okay, now, talent shows was a really fun thing. It wasn't about the money. It was cool when I got a ribbon, and it was cool when I won, because obviously I like to win. But when it comes down to it, I really had a great run. I had a lot of trophies, I did a lot of talent shows, we drove far away to do talent shows. And I would pretty much enter any one that I had a chance to. Now, the local talent show here, the Parkersburg Homecoming, was the only talent show that can honestly say I never won. I won some competitions before that they said I couldn't compete until I was in the next age bracket. And I would win, and I would win, and I would win, but I would lose sometimes too, obviously, so I learned humility at an early age. But when it came down to it, I could never win Parkersburg Homecoming. I tried in every single way possible. I even went out of my comfort zone and did Bryan Adams, Everything I Do It For You. And then I was like, okay, fine, that's not going to work. So the next year, I go back to my roots, and I go back to Reba, and I sing Why Haven't I Heard From You? And that was the last talent competition I was ever in. Now, ironically enough, Reba's duet, Does He Love You, was the song that actually beat me that night. I found out a very interesting thing about talent competitions. Just like every single walk of life, everything that has to do with entertainment or any sort of means in the world, it's all about politics. And there were these judges, a husband and a wife, that only gravitated towards dancers and duets. They would never go for a solo act, regardless how good they were, or regardless how everyone popped for their performance. No, they would never go for that. So that's the reason why I never won Parkersburg Homecoming. But I had a great run, got a lot of awesome trophies, still to this day. I have a lot of cowboy hats I'll never wear. And I have my old boots, and I've got a lot of the old memories, my old vests I used to wear. So look at this cute kid. I'm this now. Really? Seriously? But still, yeah. I don't know, some of you might think I'm cute. Thanks. But yeah, seriously, I was a cute little kid, wasn't I? Seriously, put myself over there. Have to sometimes. But yeah, it was a really fun run. It really was. Some people want their 15 minutes of fame, some never get it. Some people get too much, some people get not enough. I personally think that I've got a rebirth now with obviously this channel, and something else I want to show you guys, and I will have to show you this off camera, because I don't have access to it right now. This would be my last time I performed on stage. Yeah, I've got one of these. The now closed American Idol experience at Disney's Hollywood Studios, which very soon, probably after the first of the year, will probably become home to Frozen, because why not? So, the last time I performed on stage, not singing for friends, not singing in the car, not singing here when I get bored and like decide to go to YouTube and like listen to karaoke songs. I know, I do it. You guys do too, at least some of you do. I remember performing, and I end up using Tiny Dancer. Obviously, I'm a big mark for Almost Famous, and my vocal structure is a lot like Elton John, so it works quite well. And didn't win, had a great time. And after this, which of course no one has footage of because it doesn't exist. I wish I had the YouTube channel back then, but I didn't. I can say right now, thinking about it, I've done one last performance. I was on the Disney Fantasy in 2012, in December, right after reunion, and I performed Falling Slowly from Once. It was the last time that I performed on stage. So yeah, I really enjoyed my time in the spotlight. I have a rebirth now. Obviously, a lot of you out there probably had no idea that I performed with Reba McEntire, and I performed with Sawyer Brown, and I still owe Garth Brooks a song to this day, mind you. Or the simple fact that for years after I met Reba, I would get Christmas cards from her every single year. And it wasn't a fan club gimmick. No, it was legitimate Christmas cards, and it was totally awesome. And I would go many, many, many hours to visit and watch her perform. Like, I remember going to Michigan, because my aunt lived in Michigan at the time. I remember going to see her at a, not really a state fair, but like a local fair. And it was funny because I was actually getting ready to go backstage, and Narvel just looks at me and goes, yeah, no, we're just going to cut the line off right before him. He's not going to be able to go backstage tonight, because he'd just like to rib me and everything, so that was quite fun. I really enjoyed my time at performing. Now, granted, do I still remember some of the songs? Yeah, I probably do. I've tested myself before. I remember a lot of the things. And every year for Christmas, my mother wants me to do a recitation. And throughout the years, I have learned a recitation of something called the Christmas Guest, Reba McEntire's version of the Christmas Guest. And every single year, I've done this. I actually performed it for a school function before, and I performed it on my broadcast journalism television station back when I was in high school, and I've done it for friends and family, so yeah, I still remember it to this day. I think this year might be the year that I put it on this channel so I can read it to you guys, so don't know what your denomination is, don't know what your feelings on Christmas is personally, but I got a recitation for you guys coming up next month, so mark tape for that. So that's going to happen. So yeah, I've enjoyed my time performing. Hopefully you enjoyed looking at my massive autograph book and my stories I have from the times that I got to meet some of the country superstars back in the day. Now, it's been a long time since I've been to a country concert. Granted, the last concert I went to was when I saw Hanson, and the video that exists on this channel at Eat to the Beat, and before that would be the Go-Go's that I saw at Eat to the Beat. Other than that, I haven't seen concerts in a long time. Now, granted, I've fallen out of line with country music throughout the years, and right now I basically listen to what would pretty much be called top 40 or pop, and that's what I would be performing if I was still performing to this day. So, I just want to let you guys in on a little piece of Sir Owen Disney's back history. Something I haven't talked about on here before. And hopefully the pictures weren't too grainy. Hopefully you could see them. Hopefully you understood the stories. And hopefully the background here, which you can see now. See, this is it. I'm sure it's that picture from Castaway Cay is the reason why you were getting a lot of like that in the background of almost all the pictures. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this little look into Sir Owen Disney's childhood. And the reason why I performed back in the day, and I had my 15 minutes before. I'm getting a nice little reprise now, and different people will know me for different things. So, I think we'll end with that, and if you are curious about any of my history that I didn't talk about, if you have any questions for me, you can always, you can always get a hold of me. Obviously, there's a lot of ways to do it, and we'll go through it like we always do here on Pop, and I'll break it down this way. If you are a fan of this channel, if you like these channels' content, if you like everyone on this channel, like everything on this channel, you just like one thing on this channel, or if you just want to put us over, you can go to Facebook and click like on that Facebook fan page. It's Sir Owen Disney Pop. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, that's pretty much what I talk on at all times. It is at Sir Owen Disney. And also, you can send me a friend request on Facebook. Let me know that you're a fan of the channel or you like the channel, so I don't think that just random people are trying to add me. If I know that you are liking what I do and like what we do here on Pop, you can be added like that, like instantaneous. And last but certainly not least, if you want to email me, we can talk about different things. We can talk about my past. If you want to talk about my country music past. If you are interested in this wondrous DVD, I'm sure we can find a way to make some of this available to you guys. Maybe. We'll see. If there's any interest, who knows, maybe. So, yeah. We can look into that. Or, as always, if you'd like to just talk wrestling with me, or movies, since we're in Academy Award season, and very soon we're going to do another predictions video. And, obviously, we could talk music. We can do that if you'd like. Or theme park information. You want to ask me questions about theme parks, Disney, Universal, talk about Halloween Horror Nights, or if you just would like to ask me questions I can't answer on here, you can do so. Or, if you would like to give me some ideas for things you would like to see in the vlog of randomness, or if you have ideas for Sip and Snack, you have versus suggestions, or if you'd like to be a part of any of said segments that I just mentioned, you can send your video content to suroanddisney@gmail.com. Tomorrow, Sip and Snack returns, and it's going to be a fun one, folks. We're going to go into some cookies, and maybe some donuts, and possibly some candy. So yeah, a lot of things that are probably bad for you, but oh so good, and taste oh so right. So then, of course, this weekend, Mockingjay comes out, so we're going to be reviewing that. AJ's Movie Reviews, Mockingjay only on Friday, and Saturday we'll take you guys to Gaming with Ash, and AJ and myself will be going to Athens to check out Whiplash and Birdman. Sunday, we have the brand new Versus, and of course, Monday, we have the Survivor Series recap, NXT and SmackDown over the weekend, Raw on Tuesday, and then we go back into the vlog of randomness on Wednesday when we are 1 week away from going back to Orlando. So, thank you guys and girls out there for watching, and until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all I gotta say about that. Okay, I've already done my outro, and I understand that, but there's a couple of things that I completely forgot to include in this video that I think are kind of important. Number one, the Porter Wagner story. I was reminded about a minute ago by my mother that Porter Wagner actually had me backstage for about 30 minutes just talking and just hanging out with me. Which was totally awesome, because I thought Porter Wagner was the incredible, incredible, incredible person that he truly is back in the day. I still think Porter Wagner is awesome, but he was the greatest back then to me. Porter Wagner was incredible, and it was really awesome to be able to be backstage with him for about 30 minutes. It was funny because I actually vaguely remember getting brought back after that time, and it was really awesome. Got to hang out with Porter Wagner, so that was really cool. 2, another thing I want to mention is someone that I met at one of the Earl Thomas Conley homecomings, and that would be another connection to something really interesting. So, there was a concert that was put on by WNUS back in the day, and I still have the blue, or in this case, blue, shirt from the concert, and that's where my autograph from this person is, and I don't have an actual autograph picture of him. We'll talk about him in a minute. So, in Belpre, Ohio, which is basically one of those towns, if you blink, you miss it. It's getting a little bit bigger now, but it's still relatively small. It's right over across the bridge from where I live right now. And in the same Civitan Park that I performed in 1987 in my first ever Belpre Homecoming Talent Show is where Garth Brooks performed. Yes, Garth Brooks. Like, mega country superstar Garth Brooks. This was back when he first started out. This was back before he really, made a big name for himself. And who was Garth Brooks' opening act that night? A young country singer just getting his start by the name of Brad Paisley. So yes, I have seen and met Brad Paisley before. Nice guy. Remember back in the day. Just a young kid starting out back in the day, opening up for Garth Brooks, and that was really awesome. Now, a couple of pertinent information pieces from that day. Number one, Garth had some issues with his bus, And given the fact that I already mentioned in the previous part of the video that my grandmother's backyard is basically right connected to the park that the concert was going on, Garth Brooks was about a couple seconds from going to my grandmother's house and changing before his show. I thought that was pretty cool. And I definitely wanted to make mention of that. So Garth Brooks performed in Belpre, Ohio. That's a big deal to people that are in this area that I live in currently, because they probably would never know that a superstar to the level of Garth Brooks would actually have performed in this area. Well, the funny thing is for many years, a lot of people, a lot of big names in country music would perform in this area. It was a very, very popular spot for country music back in the day. I'm sorry I keep rubbing my eyes, but I just got something in there. So it happened at B-Dubs earlier. So there. But yeah, I just wanted to make mention of that real quick. Quick addendum to the video, even though I already did my outro, and I probably will do a quick outro to end this video anyway. So I just wanted to tell you guys a little bit more about what happened and everything, a little bit more about a couple of the things that I forgot to mention in the video, and I thought it was something you guys needed to know. Since I was doing this vlog of randomness, I wanted to completely let you guys in, not just shut you out of a couple things that I could have mentioned and I completely forgot about. So that's always that. Oh, by the way, if you're curious about it, during the concert, the Garth Brooks concert in Belpre, it was raining, so that was kind of really apropos. And it was funny because I saw Garth Brooks at a speedway, and there was obviously the Thunder Rolls, a huge, huge song for Garth, and still is to this day. And right as the song started, the thunder literally started to roll, started to rain. The song ended, the rain stopped, and it did not come back. So it was like magic that night. It was totally awesome. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that. Other things, like growing up, I got to see the Smurfs on Ice at my the mall that I currently work at back in the day. That was fun. And there was a band, like a teen group called the Hollanders that I got to see a time or two. They were, I can't really say local. They might have been from Pennsylvania. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe. I'm not sure at this point. But, excuse me, there was always that. But yeah, I just wanted to mention a couple more things real quick to end this video. And try to get our runtime to about an hour. So if you guys are still with me, thank you all for getting a little bit more in-depth to Sir Owen Disney's background and my backstory here that I don't really talk about very often. This video will be up as soon as I possibly can. While you're watching this video, chances are I'm probably working right now, because I have a double today, so that's the reason I have to shoot this video on Tuesday night, so I can make sure I get it out to you guys before I leave for work. Today, since it's Wednesday, 11:30 to 11 today, so yeah, you'll probably see this video. I'll be working, so as always, thank you guys and girls out there for watching. Thank you for supporting Pop, and thank you for enjoying the vlogs of randomness. And if you have any ideas for vlogs of randomness, you know how to get a hold of me. Facebook, Twitter, and email. You know how to do it. And until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all I got to say about that.